Alright guys, welcome back to another Bedwars video, and today we'll be talking about the worst stats accounts in Bedwars, because it did win the poll by a decent margin, and this video is essentially like sponsored by Prax, since it did give me a good 80% of the accounts mentioned in this video, and like 200 accounts total, so go sub to him. And how this video is going to work is I'm going to list the 20 worst stats accounts with my own formula, since index and rating don't really work for bad stats accounts, and my formula is FKDR divided by star times 1000, which isn't like perfect by any means, but I can't really think of anything better. And the only rules for this video are no 4v4 stats and no botted accounts, so sorry to the Harmony fans, but I mean, he would have made it on anyway. Actually, none of the botted accounts have made it on except for like 2, but here's the botted list for those curious. One last thing, you can now become a channel member, with the main benefit being access to the private Discord server with every win streak leaderboard you can think of, like overall win streak, mode, 4v4, obfuscation with and without bypass, cheated modes, cheated 4v4, win streaker leaderboard, all fully updated and nearly double in size, along with all my other benefits, all for like $5. I mean, I think it's a good deal, but it's up to you. So thanks to my current channel members, and let's get into the video. Okay, so first at number 20 we have Quatch with a rating of 331. For reference, someone with 100 stars and 1 FKDR would have a score of 10,000, which is 30 times better. And at 575 stars, they have an FKDR of 0.19, which is less than 1 final every 5 final deaths, which should definitely not be happening at 570 stars, but they're on the list for a reason, and I'm pretty sure that this is the only solos main on this list. The reason they're the only solos main is because, to me at least, solos is the best at getting people better at the game, so this guy's like truly bad to his core, and he actually has 3 KDR, which is very much not normal, and it's also not a good thing, don't get it twisted, because it either means he's the world's biggest Spin Town fan, or he just hits a base all game every game. At number 19 we have Totori with a rating of 318.5, and at 722 stars they have 0.23 FKDR, which is less than 1 final every 4 final deaths, and this guy is an example of a fours addict, which we'll be seeing a lot in this video. And of his 1190 wins, 1170 were in 4s, and of the 20 not in 4s, 19 were in 3s and 1 was in solos, so not the most even stats, but these accounts weren't really made to look good in the first place. At number 18 we have Bamadog657. I mean, the names in this video are going to be pretty interesting, but they have 665 stars and 0.2 FKDR, and they have a rating of 300.7. Now this guy is a 4v4 main, which is why they only have 600 finals and 500 wins, which is like less than a win per star, but they actually have worse stats in 4v4, which I don't even know how that happened, since theoretically your 4v4 stats should be like twice as good as your regular stats, but this guy's just that good at being that bad. At number 17 we have Bookworm245 with a rating of 299.8, and at a good 767 stars they only have a 5th of an FKDR, meaning they final die 5 times before getting 1 final. And this guy is also addicted to 4s. They have about 3,000 wins in 4s and 30 wins in every other mode, 25 of which are in 3s. But even though he's addicted to Team Bedwars, his teammates might actually be carrying him down, since his solo FKDR is 0.67, which is 3 times his 4s FKDR. So maybe if he became a bit more independent, he wouldn't be in this list in the first place. At number 16 we have Pi Shine with a rating of 284.1, and they're the 3rd highest star on this list at 1272, but their FKDR is just 0.35, which I think is the 3rd lowest above 1200 stars, and the other 2 we'll get to later. But this guy isn't just his Bedwars main, he also plays Mega Walls too, and if you think his Mega Wall stats are any good, then you're sorely mistaken and also a stupid dumb idiot, because he has 0.03 FKDR, which I don't even know how that like happens, but that's just the level of skill we're talking about here. At number 15 we have Cheese is the Best with a rating of 274.9, and at a star count of 582 they have an FKDR of 0.16, which isn't even the worst part, since they have a WLR of 0.03, which is tied for the worst WLR with a couple of other people we'll talk about later. And this does mean, to be fair, that their teammates are kind of carrying them down, since most people on this list have the same FKDR and WLR, so I don't even want to imagine what their teammates are playing like. At number 14 we have Robit with a rating of 268.9, and this guy's pretty similar to Cheese's Best, who we just talked about, since they have the same FKDR at 0.16, the only difference being he has 16 more stars at 598. Now this guy is another heavy 4s main. Of their 1234 wins, 1189 were in 4s, and I think there's so many 4s mans on this list because in 4s you mostly rely on your teammates, so if you only play 4s, then depending on your playstyle it can be hard to get better, like at all, so keep that in mind, new players. At number 13, we have Axomass with a rating of 265.8, and at a strong 796 stars, they have an FKDR of 0.21. They do have a 1.4 KDR, which definitely says something about their playstyle, and not anything good. For those wondering, Dewey, I know buzzword, Dewey has a KDR of 1-ish, so no, a higher KDR does definitely not mean a higher skill level, or anything close at all. Probably the opposite actually, so sorry Polo. At number 12, we have this guy with a score of 260.9. He got 728 stars and 0.19 FKDR, and he actually has almost exactly the same wins as finals and also the same FKDR to WLR, which lots of accounts on here actually have pretty similar FKDR to WLR, since they obviously don't get very many finals per game, but it's weird that they're like the exact same. To be fair, this guy is a Dreams main, also like a lot of accounts here, but his stats aren't even that horrible in Dreams. I mean, he almost has 1 FKDR at Castle, even though he probably got carried by his other 39 teammates, seeing as he has 8 beds from 3,500 games. And his other Dream stats are pretty bad, but there's like a chance he has some sleeper skill or something. But even if he does, his stats don't exactly show it at all. At number 11, we have Running Bear Plates with a score of 233, which is a pretty big jump down from 260. And this guy has 515 stars and 0.12 FKDR, which is a final every 8 final deaths. I don't even know how that happens, but this guy's just another hard fours man as usual, and he's a hard camper, seeing as he has 0.01 BBLR and a grand total of 17 beds in its 12,000 games, which is like a bed every 800 games or some shit. Like, this guy needs to leave his shell and maybe, I don't know, play the game. At number 10, we have Mommy King with a score of 229.1, and this is one of the most infamous accounts, as it's one of the first ones to be like this bad. They have 1487 stars and 0.34 FKDR, which is actually the second lowest FKDR above 1300 stars. The lowest is way lower, but we'll get to that at the end. And they actually have stats in every mode, not just fours like some accounts, so they're actually like a true pure bad account, though they do have 2 KDR and 0.1 BBLR, which means they definitely hard camp their base all game, every game. On number 9, we have JTS50 with a rating of 216.4. And at 973 stars, they only got 0.21 FKDR, and they are another Chronic Force player, which, I mean, I think we're starting to see a pattern here, but they do play a little bit of doubles, which is probably why they're not higher or lower depending on how you view it, since they have 0.18 FKDR in fours and 1.65 FKDR in doubles, which is actually like above average. So I don't know how they have so much variation, but I guess it's because it's harder to camp your ass off in doubles. At number 8, we have Ellie Vaughn with a rating of 212.7, and this is confirmed to be the daughter of King Von, so don't judge too hard. But at 282 stars, which is the second lowest on this list, they have 0.06 FKDR, which is like half their WLR, and they also have never broken a bed, like ever, which made me think they were a bot at first, but they actually are not. This is just a pure caliber of stats we're talking about from now on. Also, they're Chronic Force main as usual, but it's like to a way harder degree this time, since they only have 3 wins in every other mode, and also have never played a game of solos in their lifetime, which is probably the best mode by far in terms of getting better skill wise, at least in my opinion. So I guess it makes sense why their stats are so like, I mean, below average. At number 7, we have Cat at Bat with a rating of 212 exactly, and at 556 stars, they have 0.15 FKDR, and this is yet another case of Chronic Force syndrome, having only 7 wins in other modes, 5 being in 3s, but unlike Elivon, they actually do play other modes a bit, they just don't like win at all, so they get an A for effort. At number 6, we have Daniel 0901, which is their biggest jump down in rating, since they have a rating of 50 lower than the last account at 163.6, and at 550 stars, they also have 0.09 FKDR. They don't even get 1 final for every 10 final deaths. This is the 4th lowest FKDR above 500 stars, and even though they are kind of a hard force main, they actually don't camp base, or at least not well, since they have a KDR of 0.2. I don't even have like an explanation of how they got it so low. They're just kind of like a pure horrible player. At number 5, we have Blue Jasons with a rating of 150.6, and at 664 stars, they have an amazing 0.1 FKDR. They actually have more wins than finals, but that's honestly not even uncommon at this level of accounts. But this is yet another example of a force addiction, but this time it's our biggest case yet, since they have a grand total of 1 win from every mode except fours, and they are a Dreams main, but the Dream stats don't look much better. In fact, 0.1 FKDR is the best FKDR in any mode. They don't have any higher than that, which is pretty sad if anything. And this is apparently another one of the oldest recorded accounts of having stats this bad. I don't know exactly when they got their stats this bad, but they first logged on this in 2015. So they've actually been playing for like 10 years, which is crazy to still be that bad. At number 4, we have BB Bow with a rating of 100.1. For reference, a 100 star with 0.01 FKDR would have the exact same rating, so I know that people much lower later on this list, which is the crazier part. And at 807 stars, they have a grand total of 0.08 FKDR, or 1 final every 12 final deaths. Now this guy is kind of like an amalgamation of every problem we've mentioned so far. They're an intense force main, having only 2 wins in every other mode. They're like the biggest camper ever. They have 6 beds total, like, ever, in 18,000 games. That's 1 bed every 3,000 games, or 1 bed every 420 hours of playtime. And unlike most of these accounts, they're actually not even a dreams main. They do play a decent amount of dreams, not for quests, just like for fun, but like 90% of their playtime is in core modes, and they have 0.08 FKDR, so they're actually just like that bad. Though it's not nearly as bad as their next couple accounts, but we'll get there. At number 3, we have Ply1 with a rating of 88.4, so we finally got to double digits, or triple, because I'm including the decimal. And I didn't want to include that many low star accounts in this video, because those guys are genuinely just like new players, so of course they'd have bad stats, but I couldn't help myself. So this guy is 228 stars and 0.02 FKDR, which is a final every 50 final deaths. That's 4 times worse than BB Bow with 0.08 FKDR, and there is a chance that this account could be like botted since they have 5,000 losses, which if they won, it would be 25 wins per star, which is like world class level grinding. But I'm gonna happily assume that that's just because they lose every game immediately and they're just that bad. Now this guy is actually a 3s main, which is pretty rare, but they have 0 beds broken ever in 5,000 games. Not 1. They actually have 5 times as many wins as finals, which does make it even more likely that this is botted, but I'm gonna be oblivious for now because I don't feel like remaking the list. Now they do play Dreams and 4v4, but they've weirdly like never gotten a single final, and they do get some regular kills and even some wins here and there, so I don't know what's happening with this guy, but if you're wondering, he hasn't gotten a single bed in any mode, including Dreams and 4v4. At number 2, we have Tankstar2 with a rating of 54.7. Let's talk about the rating for a sec, because that's a lot more crazy than some of you might realize. The number 20 in this video had a rating of 331. He had 0.19 FKDR at 575 stars, which is really not good, but he's still nearly 8 times better than this guy. Let's take our 100 star with 1 FKDR guy as an example again, which by the way is still probably below average stats today. Those stats are still 200 times better than Tankstar. Now I thought when making this video that this guy would have the worst stats for sure, but there's actually someone with even worse stats, which we'll get to soon. Now Tankstar 2 has 1466 stars. He's top 400 in the world for stars, or 0.001% in stars, and his FKDR is 0.08. He has the lowest FKDR of anybody above 1000 stars, and the next lowest is 0.34, or 4 times that. This guy, in my opinion, should be the face of total shit stats accounts, and in good fashion, he also is another 4s addict, having every single one of his 1568 wins in 4s. Also, fun fact, he has the most non-botted losses in history by like a decent margin. Now, for the worst stats accounts in Bedwars that I know of. At number 1, we have Fantasy Entity with a rating of 53. He has 754 stars and 0.04 FKDR. He obviously has the lowest of anybody above 500 stars, the second lowest being a tie with Tankstar 2 and BB Bow at 0.08. He's half the FKDR of even Tankstar 2. He gets 1 final every 20 final deaths, and he's also not even a Dreams main. He has nearly 10,000 losses at 750 stars, which is the highest non-botted losses below 1000 stars. This guy's putting Tony Snell numbers like times 10,000, bro. He gets a final every 20 final deaths, a win every 30 losses, a single kill every 7 deaths, a bed every 24 beds lost, and his overall stats aren't even the worst part, because unlike most bad stats accounts, he has tried other modes. He just failed miserably. He has 0.01 solos WLR, 0.01 doubles WLR, and 0.02 threes FKDR. So he definitely deserves to spot at number 1 because he's purely simply just really shit at the game. Now there are things you can definitely take away from this, so if you're a new player and don't want to end up like these guys, or if you have already bad stats and want to not have bad stats, then there are some key takeaways. Firstly, don't only play fours, especially if you're new. Fours is maybe the worst game mode skill wise, because if you mess up you can just have one of your 3 teammates cover for you. I'd recommend playing their fair share of solos, because solos is really good for game sense. I mean, it helps when there's 7 people on your ass all game, so like don't be afraid to play with less teammates. Secondly, this one's the least important, but try not to play dreams too much, or at least not more than regular Bedwars, since 1, it doesn't count for stats besides XP, so even if you get like really good at dreams, as long as you shit at regular Bedwars you have shit stats. And 2, dreams is like not normal Bedwars. It does transfer decently, but they're definitely very different like game sense wise, and there's definitely a reason why it isn't counted as normal Bedwars. The final takeaway is don't camp at base all game, and that's pretty much what every bad stats account does, and it's why they're here in the first place, because you can tell by their KDR and BBLR that their main strategy is just to sit at base and get stacked. So if you do this, then just hop out of your shell and don't be afraid to rush other teams. Even if there's a team way better than you, they'll probably like cream you whether you camp or not, and you probably have a better chance anyways if you actually attack. So TLDR, play some solos, don't only play dreams or 4-4 honestly, and don't be a pussy. Now you know. But anyways, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Sorry for not uploading in 3 weeks. I slept in, but next video probably won't take this long. I mean, hopefully. And for those wondering what next video is, I don't know yet. I mean, I have a list of like dozens of ideas, but the large majority of them either wouldn't do well at all, or I don't think I can make an accurate enough video. Like the obfuscation win streaks would be a good one, and I do know all the obfuscation bypass win streaks since I like know those people and they fact check the list themselves, but the ones without bypass would not go well. I know I said I had a list in my Discord server, which I do by the way, that wasn't a lie, and I'm pretty confident in like my top 5, but after that, I mean, it can only be so accurate in the big 2-5, so feel free to leave any ideas in the comments. Thanks to my current channel members. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.